everyone. Welcome to the Manthology Show, episode 21, Legal Drinking Age. This year podcast just became Life by three white guys in their 30s. In today's episode, leftover manliness, cucumber sandwiches, skydiving, and ice blocking. Josh, Derek, welcome to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Josh and Blake. With justice, they judge and make war, and if I do say so myself, they make for some pretty damn good podcast hosts. Gentlemen, welcome to the Manthology Show.
Thanks, Derek.
Hell of an intro.
That was a great intro. You're just getting better at these.
It's actually my favorite part of the show, to be honest with you.
Josh is just...
I honestly look forward to like, oh, what's he going to say today?
I figure, let's start off chipper with a little book of revelations.
I like Chipper Derek. I like Downer Derek too because he's funny. But Chipper Derek, he just kind of gets me going. So
well, you can't have one without the other.
No,
so
you gotta have both. Okay, you know the drill, muchachos, listeners. Get on iTunes, search for Manthology Show, rate us. Jump on ManthologyShow.com to become a patron and support this show if you like what we do. If you want to keep it going, want to help us keep the lights on, or get in touch at Manthology Show on Twitter, men@ManthologyShow.com. Gentlemen, do either of you or have either of you either ever enjoyed a cucumber sandwich?
No. No.
Derek?
I don't even know where to begin with that. No.
And I'm going to be, I'll in full disclosure, this is probably the least Americana food ever. In fact, it's quite British. I think it was invented by the British. And I'm in love with cucumber sandwiches. Our neighbors have been giving us all these cucumbers. I've been chopping them up, throwing in some dill, cream cheese, mayo. And here's how I up the game. And I think I've surpassed the British in terms of flavorful cucumber sandwiches. I throw in a little relish in there. See what I'm saying? Little vinegar cucumbers, if you will.
All right.
Anyway, if you haven't had a cucumber sandwich, get a little Google of cucumber sandwich because I think there's still cucumbers in season. I ain't letting go of summer just yet. So enjoy a cucumber sandwich if you haven't. And in fact, I want you to report if you liked it or not, if I'm crazy here.
I'm just a little confused and sorry it's late in the day. What kind of meat are you putting on these?
Yeah, that was my first question.
Okay, now, again, not an American sandwich. The answer is absolutely no meat. You're substituting meat with cream cheese. It's a light sandwich, okay? It goes down smooth. And I know Derek's like, what the hell are you talking about from Pittsburgh? I put eggs and French fries and salami and roast beef on my sandwiches, and you have nothing to represent the meat.
We have a name for those kind of sandwiches, Blake. Those are called appetizers. That's not a. Please continue.
No. I'm done. I'm going to get off my high or low horse depending on your view of cucumber sandwiches. But I just had one for lunch and it was delicious. And I'm all high and mighty on cucumber sandwiches now.
Well, I'll say this: I don't eat them because they're green and crunchy. Which we've gone on record. And as you guys know, my word is about integrity, and that's what I stand on. I don't eat things that are green and crunchy, so I can't sit here and make a comment on the cucumber sandwich. But what I will say is that when I'm around cucumbers and they're cut, they do have a very crisp, very refreshing scent. So if they taste as crisp and refreshing as they smell, then I guess I could see in some twisted way your enjoyment.
Okay, well let's have fun with this, Derek. You are the epitome of meat sandwich growing up in Pittsburgh. I don't know if that was derogatory or not, but I'm just going to go with it. Okay, you are a meat sandwich. Now, let's put it to the test. I'm going to send you my recipe for cucumber sandwich and the little twist I put in there with relish, and let's review it. Maybe we could even review it live on an upcoming show, and you could review to see if the flavor that you do like about cucumber, does it pay off in form of an English sandwich?
Okay. All right. I'll do that.
Can we do that? Are you down with that? Josh, can we do this?
As long as I could have a chaser of corned beef afterward.
Oh, you can chase whatever you want. But I think it would make for a good show. So stay tuned for that. We're going to get Derek on in the recording studio with his live review. His live review of a cucumber sandwich.
Derek eats vegetables for the first time and reports on it.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, we need to get into some leftover manliness that we didn't get to discuss on last week's show. Now, if you missed it, episode 20 was pretty epic and probably one of our best, certainly feature shows where we zeroed in on one topic. We each chose, we held a man draft, each picking and sometimes undermining each other with picks for the 5 greatest men. We're going to quickly go through our 5 best picks. Well, you know what? Before we do that, Derek and Josh, let's go through some of the honorable mentions, the men that we didn't get to, and then we'll name our picks, and we're gonna put it to the listeners to see who thinks whose team who selected the best team. Okay, yeah. But first, let's do some honorable mentions. Josh, Derek, who didn't you get to mention that was just outside of your top 5?
Well, we'll let Josh go first. We'll redo the order of the draft.
Okay. So one of the honorable mentions I have was none other than Bill, the Big Tuna Parcells, Coach Parcells.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Bill Bradsky. I would have got excited if you said Bill Bradsky.
That would have been a great one, actually.
But Bill Parcells. Okay, sure.
Parcells, yeah.
Okay, Derek.
The first guy. Well, we're going low to high on our honorable mentions, right? Like we did.
Whatever. Yeah, we'll just throw them out there. There's no list here. This is just
no list. I had Paul Bunyan. The man was a giant lumberjack, a beloved piece of American folklore, and my favorite reference to him is that he once strapped 2 large hams to his feet and skated on a half mile of black stovetops to grease them up for breakfast.
That was a true story, actually.
So Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan.
My honorable mention list.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. It's not as good as my first honorable mention pick. Gentlemen, we all are big fans of boxing movies. There's several great boxing movies, the worst of which is Raging Bull. Don't watch that movie. That movie sucks. If you see... You're going to see that everyone's, Raging Bull is a train wreck of a movie. It's not a good sports, certainly not
It's in my queue to rewatch again because it's been years since I've seen it.
It's horrible. That movie's horrible. Anyway, don't watch that or go watch it and form your own opinion. But the best boxing movie, in my opinion, and one of the best... No. That's not it. That's close.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes. And
you're going to be even more controversial.
Hear me out. The man that this represents was not fiction, dudes. And I'm talking about the Cinderella Man. Has anyone seen this movie?
Yes, I have seen it.
Okay, that's not fiction.
It's a good movie, but... No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He represents... That's like real-life manliness, dude. The dude was just badass, and he wasn't fiction. Now, I get you. On a fictional universe, Rambo probably takes the dramatics in that story. But the Cinderella Man was a real boxer, a real story during the Depression. The things that guy did, his heart, the giving back after he borrowed money from welfare, freaking returned the money he took from... I mean, it's just all sorts of manliness, the Cinderella Man. So that's my first honorable mention pick.
All right.
Although I got to tell you, I set you up for the... I set you up for the home run, Blake, and you swung and missed. I'm going to tell you.
It's like hitting it off a tee.
No. That movie speaks to me more. I get all teared up when I still see, just thinking about that guy.
All right.
Another one of my honorable mentions is a real bit of an anti-hero, and unless you're a real fan of it, you may not get it. But Mr. Tony Soprano. I know, right? Yeah.
I have never seen a single episode of The Sopranos.
Wow.
Not
really?
One. And I know I should because I've heard it's amazing. I have never watched it.
So good. Sarah and I will watch it. We'll rewatch the entire series like once a year.
How many episodes are there, though? Like, how many seasons are there?
I think they did 5 or 6. I mean, yeah, it's a...
Are they 30-minute episodes or 1 hour long?
No, they're an hour. Yeah, they're an hour.
Wow, dude.
It's a great series.
I need to watch it. Is it on Netflix?
It's on HBO. so much good writing, good character development. But yeah,
isn't it like isn't if you took Goodfellas and made it into a TV show, that's The Sopranos?
Sort of, yeah. It's a lot more, I think, realistic. I mean, I think one of the reasons, and this is one of the reasons he made my list, is that it also shows him struggling with like the dailies of like being a dad and a husband, and he's not by traditional measures a good guy, but given his scope of, what's right and what's wrong, he is a good guy, and it's very conflicting, and it's part of what makes it so good. But yeah, Tony Soprano, honorable mention.
Good. Derek?
My next honorable mention is also a television character. First off, the guy's name is Angus. Most people know him as simply MacGyver, which would be manly enough. But no, his first name, freaking Angus. So the fact that he can wire bombs with dental floss, I mean, that's almost frosting on the cake at this point. He served as a bomb technician during the Vietnam War, but he's also a brilliant scientist, so he can make swords out of popsicle sticks. When MacGyver's around, everything's dangerous, even our draft board, which is now set to explode in 10 minutes. So Blake.
Derek, I got all excited when I heard Angus. I thought you were going to say Angus Young, and you picked MacGyver over Angus Young?
Yes, I picked Angus MacGyver.
I didn't know it was Angus, so
I didn't know either.
Oh, I have no idea where this is going.
You threw me for a loop there. I set you up for a home run there, too, and you whiffed that, man.
How dare you? Angus MacGyver, Blake, is rewiring your phone right now, and you don't even know it.
What's a shame is that I saw they're like rebooting that series or something.
I watched. I can't remember. I was so young when I watched that. I remember him being cool, but I don't think I watched it past the age of 6 or 7.
He's real cool. I mean, he's no AC Slater, but he's still pretty freaking cool.
Do I detect sarcasm, Derek? Do I detect a hint of
Absolutely
sarcasm?
Absolutely not.
All right. Okay, my next honorable mention, or maybe dishonorable mention, because this man, oh boy, where to be? I mean, he's kind of one of those train wreck men that we celebrate anyways, even though we probably shouldn't. Maybe he's sociopathic type men. But I love this. I think he's the embodiment of that. Sorry, buddy, I just threw under the bus. But I'm talking about George Best. Have either of you heard of this man?
George Best.
You probably don't, because again, I'm sticking with the English sandwiches theme, and he is one of the greatest soccer players ever, and he's from Northern Ireland. Okay, so UK technically, even though he's on the island of Ireland. George Best was like this great soccer player, but an incredible drunk, and just the flame burned fast and quickly. You know what I'm saying? So the reason I pick him is because he may have my favorite quote of all time from any man ever given. Okay, and it is this. All right, you guys ready for it? This is George Best's greatest quote. He said this: "I spent 80% of my fortune on women and booze. The rest I squandered."
Yeah, I've heard that quote. I didn't know where that came
That's
from.
George Best. He was the one that said that. So anyway, maybe that's my dishonorable mention. But there you go, George Best.
No, hat tip to George Best. That's pretty good.
Okay, Derek or Josh, who's up next?
I think that was the only alternates I had in there.
Derek, do you have any other alternates?
I got 2 more alternates.
Okay.
I got 2 more. First one, Tom Selleck. Thing is,
you stole one of my alternates.
See, because here's the thing is, he's not what I'd call a great actor, but he's had like dozens and dozens and dozens of film and television roles, let's be honest, and it was based mostly on the fact that he is the king of mustaches, guys.
The stash.
You got to pick him just for the stash. That's why I was going to pick him, Derek. It's just for that stash.
I mean, he was Magnum PI. That's enough for consideration on the draft board. But Jesus, that mustache. And because of that mustache, he got to make out with Courtney Cox at the height of her hotness routinely on television. And it's not because of the skills at the job he was performing, but it's because of his mustache.
I would almost argue that you could just draft the stash. Like, leave Tom behind. That stash is so good, it could go on its own.
Yeah.
He had a recurring role on Friends, Blake, in the 90s, where he got to make out with Courtney Cox.
I see. Okay. Yeah. She was always the hottest one on the show, right? Can we all agree?
I go Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston for sure. Like, Jennifer Aniston's a freak of nature. Her DNA we should be saving to figure out how that happened.
I thought she was overrated. She's cute, but overrated. I
don't
thought
know about that.
Yeah. Okay. Who's your other pick then? Your other honorable mention?
Well, so my number one honorable mention, and the weird thing is, if you listen to the last show, my number one pick was usurped from me by Blake. I almost threw in this guy as my number one pick, and some would say I should have, and I don't disagree. John Rambo.
That.
And the thing about John Rambo is he was actually already drafted. We just couldn't see him because he blends in with his surroundings.
Or just Stallone in general. Pick Stallone in general. I mean,
yeah. And Rambo is just like those movies are just they're the epitome of macho 80s masculine action stars. So to me, he's the toughest, manliest movie character of all time. And I love the quote that the Colonel had about him. Rambo's the best with guns, with knives, with his bare hands. He's a man who's been trained to ignore pain, ignore weather, to live off the land, to eat things that would make a billy goat puke. I mean, if that's not manliness, I don't know what this list even is. If that's not doesn't make him eligible.
Yeah. I agree.
He's a good one. Another good throwback that I considered. I didn't quite put him on my alternate list is Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
His story about ditching the Austrian army on weekends to go compete in the weight training things, sneaking out, and then he got caught. Of course, he gets back and he's all ripped. But that whole thing is just his perseverance and then, becoming a huge star with a horrible accent that a lot of people couldn't understand. Adorably horrible, I say. Yeah. It's adorable. Who doesn't love whenever time he couldn't even pronounce the name of his state that he was governor of, California. I mean,
California.
He couldn't even, I think that's a good throwback.
Ultimate perseverance, yeah.
Yeah, ultimate perseverance. And another modern guy that I think it's better than Stone Cold and transcends pro wrestling, Derek, is The Rock, dude. You gotta love Dwayne Johnson. Love that guy. Love that guy.
I smell what you're cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that The Rock has become what he's become in Hollywood. He's a pro wrestler and he thinks like a pro wrestler and somehow he's transcended it. It's amazing.
But he's a nice guy.
He was the
nice
highest
guy.
earning actor last year.
Was he?
Yeah, he is a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah. He's legitimately the biggest star in Hollywood, and he was in pro wrestling. It's amazing.
Okay, so there's our honorables. Now, real quickly, run down your teams. My team was Bo Jackson, Neil Armstrong, A.C. Slater, Frank Sinatra, Ted Williams. That's a damn good team, gentlemen. That is a damn good team.
It's a fine team. That's a fine squad. Here's my team from top to bottom. Popeye the Sailor Man. John L. Sullivan, the last great bare-knuckle boxer. Alexander the freaking Great. Kirk Douglas, and Evel Knievel. Those are Derek's 5.
Right.
Those are both very cute and very well-rounded teams, gentlemen. One of you may get a wild card position and sneak into the playoffs. However, the winners are number 5, He-Man, Clint Eastwood, Paul McCartney, the Sheriff Manning, and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Yeah, come on. I mean, I'm just gonna say my low pick was He-Man, who is the master of the universe.
Okay.
And then I ended it with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Yeah, come on.
I think it's safe to say that this is the first podcast that has ever discussed He-Man and Jesus Christ and their legacies.
Yeah. Put that as the byline.
Okay.
And I'd like to say this is why we were featured on iTunes. No big deal.
There you go. So, listeners, which team do you think is best? Please tweet us at Manthology Show, send us an email, men@manthology.show, or even tell us who do you think we missed. That is our first man draft. We had a lot of fun doing it. We hope to do it again soon. So let us know. Give us your feedback. Which team do you think is best? Team Blake, Team Derek over there, or Team Josh? Let's hear it.
You know what else I would love to hear is I'd like to hear other people's top 5. So send us your man picks for your top 5. I would love to hear what other people think.
I'll consider it, but I don't think it's going to overtake either mine or maybe Josh's. Josh's is pretty damn good. Derek, yours is. I think me and Josh would both beat you, but I'm just. I don't know.
Like it's Alexander the Great, not Alexander the Second Place.
Not Alexander the Good.
It's Alexander the Great. All right.
Okay, gentlemen, I wanted to talk about something that. Well, let's just go out and say it. You know, when every now and then you have those days that just. They really do fire on all cylinders. Best days ever. Have you guys had one of those yet this year? Either of you?
I haven't had one of those since the 3rd grade, but I remember what it was like. I got to tell you, it was phenomenal. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Derek, I'm sorry it's been that long, and I know you can find another
you're
one.
You're due. That means you're due.
You are due. Josh, have you had one of those this year?
I'm sure I have, but I can't wait to hear yours.
Okay, I'll throw it out. It was awesome. It was epic. So last Friday, on a whim, 2 days before, I've been wanting to do this since I was a teenager. I met this guy who had done this thing that I'm still teasing, and he's done it several times, 190 times actually, and just fell in love with it, and he sold it on to me, and I've wanted to do it for, here we are, 20 years later. I'm talking about skydiving. So a week ago on Wednesday, I was like, I'm going to do it. I Googled it, found a place, booked it for Friday, went with my buddy, and I went skydiving for the first time, and it was exhilarating. So that's how I started. I can get into that more later, but that's how I started the day. I get home after playing hooky, mind you, on Friday, to come home to someone that just placed a large work order for me. Say, Blake, we want to write this really big stuff for us. We're going to hire you and pay you good money. And it was great, like to come home to that, because then I didn't feel like a complete jerk for skipping out on work. And then I'd put in a good half day of work, I'll say. And then to finish it off, I got all these texts from all my friends about, you included, Josh and Derek, about skydiving. All the love was coming in, all the friendship. I was feeling all good social-wise. And then I went and took my family to the park, met up with some neighbors and some more friends, and we ice blocked down this huge hill, and it was amazing. We ate great food, and it was the perfect day. It was the perfect day for me. It was a wonderful day. So there.
That several things come to mind. First, what is an ice blocking picnic? What is that?
Okay, I should say ice blocking / picnic. Ice blocking is where you find a big old hill, and you buy a big, or several preferably, big chunks of ice. They're next to the crushed ice at your local grocer. You buy the block ice, you put a towel on it, you hold on for dear life, and you slide down a giant hill.
So it's very literal. I've
ice
never
blocking.
heard of that.
It's a blast.
How big is this block of ice?
Well,
By the way, of all the things that you just mentioned, yes, I'm hung up on ice blocking. What is it? You get frozen ice?
What is this ice blocking? It's with sitting it on the towel, it can. Yeah, it's not huge, but it's in your ice section. It's sitting right next to the crushed ice at a grocery store. Grab an ice block, find a big hill, and have at it, man. It's a blast. It was a blast. It was a blast. That's all I'll say.
Oh, and by the way, you jumped out of an airplane.
Yeah, jumped out of an airplane. No,
back to that now. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It was amazing. I did it for Derek. You and I, you had mentioned this, Derek, and I completely agree that the beautiful thing about skydiving is its several moments of sheer violence, loudness, wind ripping your face at 120 miles per hour. You're falling out of the freaking sky. Like, Earth is rapidly approaching. It's such a violent experience. And then the chute pulls, and the world just goes quiet. The volume goes from 11 to 0, and you have this beautiful view. And it's just, to me, it's the perfect dichotomy of life and death, violence and peace. Skydiving. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's surprisingly poetic, actually, when you do it. Which sounds weird because it's just skydiving, but it's amazing. The two distinct parts of the experience. You're falling, you feel so exhilarated, your heart's racing, your face hurts, because you're falling so quickly, and you're really kind of terrified, but also exhilarated at the same time. But the chute opens and life just pauses. It's unbelievable how quiet it is up there. Yeah, I'm not one of these people who believes in life-changing experiences or anything like that, but that was pretty close. After that,
that's one of them.
Yeah, it was really it's a really cool experience.
Wow.
And I'm glad you had that. I'm glad you pulled the trigger, Blake.
Derek. Yeah, it was wonderful. Josh, would you ever consider jumping from a plane at 10,000 feet?
It used to be something that I really, really, really wanted to do, and did not get a chance to do it. Now it's not something I would do.
Just with kids, with all the dependents you got?
Yeah. Just too much downside.
Josh, do you know the percentage?
I know.
It's 99.999% with the bar.
I get it. With a loved one of yours, I had this conversation when I was looking at the pictures of your beautiful day, and I know statistically what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. But
you still can't do it, huh?
Still couldn't do it, yeah.
No,
I'm pretty sure the one guy who went splat also said the same thing. I get it. He's probably like, nothing bad's going to happen.
I'll be home tonight, kids.
I mean, I'm trying to talk my wife into going, and I think I've almost got her because our neighbors want to go as well, and they got 4 kids, so they're all for
you guys
it.
got a group on.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a great. It was an amazing day.
Here's my other question about it. That to me seems like the heroine of non-heroin activities. So what do you do next to top it?
Well, here's the thing. That's a great question. And it's funny you say that because when I get home, my wife, Lindsay, Josh, and Derek, after I got done with this, I felt like running 5 hours straight. I was just
I could imagine.
With
I could
energy,
not imagine
like,
going
and
to a picnic
adrenaline.
and riding ice down the hill after that. I would not.
Listen,
I
no,
would
hear
be
me out.
way
Hear me
too
out.
good for
Hear
family
me out.
and my
Hear me out.
friends.
Okay, hear me out. So I get home and Lindsay's like, are you on cocaine? Did you do speed? I mean, she sensed that I have that. And I get like I mentioned in my text, it took me a good 3 hours to come down from that 10,000 feet high. It only took me a couple minutes to fall that quick, but it took me 3 hours to mentally come down from there. But here's the thing, Josh. You don't top it. There's nothing to top. So you kind of made fun of ice blocking. I had a blast. I was with my kids. We're surrounded by friends and good food, and my wife and family. I mean, it's just different experience. I don't necessarily think like you've got to top it. I don't have evil.
No, I was joking when I said topping it. I just couldn't imagine going from what I imagine it would feel like to then just finishing out my day. You went back and worked half a day. You worked half a day after that. I'd be like, well, there's absolutely no way I'm going back to the office. I just jumped out of an airplane.
Yeah, I don't know. It was, I can't describe it. It's hard to describe. If you're interested, go to tinyurl/forpaste, FORPASTE. That's my pace column, which I wrote the story, and that's where I kind of described my first time skydiving. So a little self-plug there if you're interested in learning about the experience. But it is great. Yeah, it's just a great day. And I think that's one of the things I hope we can talk about on this show, that you don't – I respect, Josh, that you don't want to do that. And I don't think you have to have those experiences or you have to one-up or top this, that, and the others. There's no topping. There's no – This isn't a freaking contest. This is just – there's so much to do and so much to experience in this life that – man, it's just amazing. It's just flipping amazing. And hopefully by listening to the show, we've inspired a few of you, maybe one or two of you, to do something you've wanted to do, or reminded you of something that you used to like doing. And at least that's kind of my take on at least part of the goal of this show for me.
Here. Yeah. So get out there, all of you, and jump out of a plane.
What I would always recommend too is I noticed where you jumped, Blake. You had a gorgeous view. So I don't know where you jumped, but I jumped over the ocean, like near a beach.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about skydiving and you're going on a trip where somewhere beautiful that offers it, it's definitely worth doing away. You know what I mean? Like it's worth doing somewhere where the view when you fall is going to be spectacular. Right.
Or see, I'm lucky, Derek. That was in my own backyard. Those are just the beautiful Utah mountains.
That's just Utah.
So I'm lucky to live in a place that's just naturally beautiful. And I would tend to agree with you, but I would even say, even just the thrill minus the view, you can still see the earth bend, when you're that high. And I mean, yeah, really? But I would second that. If you do have a chance to do it in a more scenic area, certainly do it, because you'll enjoy the long chute ride down more than you otherwise would. But I also convinced myself that if the chute didn't open, well, at least I'm over the ocean. Oh yeah. You would still die. You would still die, but
it would be a wet death.
Oh man. So Josh, Derek, I wanted to end this episode real quickly. Last week we talked about all the silent men out there, and there's a ton of them that don't have notoriety or celebrity to them. They're either our grandfathers, our fathers, brothers, uncles. They're all out there, and they just turn in good work day in, day out without notice and any of that. And I wanted to pay homage to another good man like that as an example of underappreciated manliness. Now, I'm talking about my friend John Hales, okay? John owns the local skateboard shop. Yes, he still owns a skateboard shop, and it does very well, and it's one of the coolest shops I've ever been in. It's like It's beautiful. He's just got it decked out with snowboard and skateboarding gear. It just makes me feel young just going into that store. Now, John, you would think, skateboarder, he's really good at skateboarding and snowboarding. He used to be a pro snowboarder even. You would think he'd be this really, what's the word, untouchable kind of guy, too cool, like James Dean. Mm-hmm. He's not like that at all. You should see him with my kids, my 2 little boys. He gets down on their level. He uses words like cute and adorable, and he doesn't care. And I think that's an example of manliness that, I don't know if it's taboo, but we kind of think it's all about muscles and hairy chests and stuff like that. I think it's just as cool to see a man kind of channel his inner soft side, if you will, or nurturing side. And I don't know. So John reminds me of that, and I think if there's any examples that you guys have of underappreciated manliness, let's hear them, or readers or listeners as well.
Here. Yeah, that's a good one.
You got any, Josh or Derek? Any examples that you think, man, that's a cool thing for some guy to do, and we need to celebrate that more?
I mean, just, the underappreciated manliness. Sarah's grandfather is kind of like that, where he's just very soft-spoken, never gets upset or angry, very even keel, but also speaks with an intelligence and an authority and softness too that you're just drawn into. And that's a very interesting balance for someone to strike. So I've always admired him for that. So yeah, I know what you mean when there's unexpected examples of manliness and the way they manifest themselves.
Here. Bravo. I love that. Derek, you got any in your life that you come across, or friends or family?
Well, I'd like to think I'm largely an underappreciated man.
I was just about to nominate you for our next draft.
Right. I mean, some say, listen to the shrill voice that he has. You wouldn't expect him to be so manly. And yet here I am, which I think is a testament to my manliness.
Well said.
There you go, Derek. Gentlemen, we've reached the end of episode 21. A lot of fun. This is a really great follow-up to our man draft. I hope you enjoyed it. Josh, why don't you tell the listeners how they can participate in an upcoming show?
Please do participate. Visit ManthologyShow.com to become a patron and support the show. You can also follow us on Twitter @ManthologyShow, or you can send us an email, men@ManthologyShow.com.
For Josh and Derek, I'm Blake. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week right here on The Manthology Show.